Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Tree.
And I'm Deniz the Fishmeister. Thank you. Welcome to a review full of magic and mystery.
Cue the intro. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz the Buddymeister. And today we take a look at another Telugu movie that was recommended to us a long time ago.
Or is the first film by writer-director Prasanth Varma. And you can really tell that it is a debut film because it is almost bursting with ambition. It's stuffed with ideas and it's extremely stylized. It's the kind of movie many film students dream of doing. One of those films that have a very sophisticated idea, a very specific way of telling a very specific story.
Absolutely. To me, it felt like opening a book full of short stories. Different genres, different characters, with clues and hints pointing at something that I am eventually going to see.
The movie begins with a beautiful animated opening credits sequence that introduces different characters in an abstract way, linking each one to certain elements and moods. It is also accompanied by one of the saddest songs I've heard in a movie in a long time.
Well, if you're not busy with crying, you can already find some clues in the lyrics of that song that may help you to unravel the big mystery box that Awe turns out to be, but we will talk about that later.
At the beginning, our story is not one big story, but several little ones, and in the first half we get one after the other, each seemingly ending on a little punchline, only to come back to it again in the second half, but then with the knowledge that they are all connected. This revelation happens exactly at the halfway point. Of course, as it is with films like this, you might already assume that there must be at least one thing connecting those stories.
Yes, we learn that all the different stories and characters are connected by the location. All of them are gathered at a big restaurant. It's only at the very end that there is an even bigger connection for all of them, but that is again something that we will talk about later. Let's break down the different stories first.
Okay. R is a lot, and it's also a lot of different genres combined. Each segment feels a little bit different. We have the normal drama, which is the story surrounding Radha and her parents. We have the sci-fi romance with Shiva and his time machine. The comedy/fantasy story with Nala the cook and the fish Nani.
Then there is the magic fantasy story with Yogi the Greatest and the little girl, and the crime/horror story with Mira and her boyfriend. Every one of those stories kind of plays in its own box or compartment of the restaurant. It's very theatrical, and I think Awe would actually make for a great play, but it's also a good movie.
It was quite entertaining, though maybe also too much of everything. Not just when it comes to all the things Prasanth Varma tried to fit into it, but also when it comes to the filmmaking. It's very flashy, very glossy, and it's always extremely artificial. I was never completely on the same wavelength, but I can totally see that people are drawn to it.
And I'm quite surprised by that myself, but this artificial edge fits very well in this case, and it fits to the outcome of the story. I was quite intrigued and was asking myself where everything was going. I thought it was witty and actually pretty bold in some aspects. I mean, it's the mix of all the genres. It kept a good balance. Not all of them are equally good, but there is no really bad one either.
Well, the most exaggerated story for me was the one with the magician. I think it's also the weakest one. It didn't have much to say and its humor felt very childish and broad. This goes for Murali Sharma's performance as well. I think it's all very intentional though, and it is also the story that involved the little girl Moksha, so it has this child's perspective in it. But it simply wasn't for me.
I know what you mean and I'm not disagreeing, but I guess because of the connection between all of the stories, each one keeps this level for me that's totally fine. But on the level of pure entertainment, sure, I guess the one with the cook and the fish reigns supreme.
That one I enjoyed the most. Nala the cook is down on his luck and is desperately trying to get a new job as a chef in this restaurant. The problem is, he doesn't really know that much about cooking, and when the Wi-Fi on his phone is failing and he can't look up cooking tutorials anymore, none other than Nani himself comes to his rescue. Nani is also the producer of the film, so maybe you could also say he came to Prasanth Varma's rescue. We knew Nani before from his iconic role in S.S. Rajamouli's bonkers but absolutely amazing Iga, in which he plays a guy who is killed and then reincarnated as a housefly.
And now he plays a fish. He obviously has a knack for playing animals, but it's of course an homage to Iga. We get this little sound cue as well. My name is Nani.
That was certainly fun, but some moments are also very obviously trying to transport a certain message. It's almost charming, but it also doesn't work all that well. For example, the one where Radha and Krishna are unfolding this whole nature or nurture argument when it comes to homosexuality to Radha's parents. Prasanth Varma has these big complex ideas and philosophies that he tries to incorporate into his narrative, but it's a bit too much, I think.
Yeah, that scene left a strange taste with me too. It's nice and commendable that Varma worked it into the movie, but he's handling it in a rather, let's say, insecure or strange way. It's not a big problem because it's only one piece of this big puzzle, but it's still something that you notice.
But Awe is a special film for sure, and it goes places that are absolutely new in Telugu cinema. At least as far as we can say. And I'm pretty certain that is also a big reason why this film was welcomed with such high acclaim. It's different, and the way it tells its story is something that challenges viewers. But as I said earlier, I also think it's a bit too much of everything, and if this kind of storytelling isn't completely new to you, it doesn't quite have that intended awe effect.
True, but Awe is also a movie that really demands talking about the end some more. And therefore we are giving you a spoiler warning because now we will talk about the film's big reveal that I anticipated after about 65 minutes, to be honest. How about you?
Well, I expected something like it too. I mean, the clues and hints were everything but subtle. And again, if you know movies like this, take Identity with John Cusack for example, you know their inner workings.
Nicely put. The inner workings of Kajal Agarwal's Kali are obviously what Awe is about. It's the cinematic equivalent to being a human being that has lived a crazy life. In this particular case, it is about a person who suffers from multiple personality disorder. But I think it can also function as a fascinating way of exploring all the different experiences and messed up emotions we human beings are witnessing and undergoing in our lives.
Absolutely. So in a way, all the elements or pieces of the movie fall into place at the end. One life, one story, but I don't think those pieces came together in a super clever, tightly constructed way. So maybe they fall all over the place instead of into place. It's hard for me to see that those different personalities really belong to one and the same person. But in that way it also intrigues me, and you could also argue that its craziness is really part of the concept.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. It felt more like a gimmick than a psychological observation of a person that suffers from multiple personality disorder.
Well, all in all, it didn't quite have that big of an impact on me, but I still appreciate it for what it is.
Well, it didn't have a big impact on me either, but I was immersed in this small magical world for 2 hours. I followed the clues and hints, tried to figure out what was going on, laughed and even contemplated a tiny little bit.
So, enjoy, we'd say?
Awe ist ein spannendes Erstlingswerk, das vor Fantasie und Ambition nur so strotzt. Dass dieser Fantasie und Ambition aber auch Grenzen gesetzt sind, wird vor allem gegen Ende deutlich. Trotzdem, die positiven und durchaus magischen Gefühle überwiegen.
I give Awe 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.8, but I don't do that.
For me, it's also 7 out of 10. It's more like 7.4, but I don't do that either.
That's it for today, and you are still not on a plate.
I know! Alive and kicking!
Very nice. You can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram simply at The Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up simply at the Buddymeister.
And you know the drill. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell.
But it's also a good movie.
Absolutely.
Das war schlecht. Sorry.
The comedy/fantasy story with Nala the cook and the fish Nani.
Ich dachte, du hörst auf.
Wie, ich hör auf?
Ich dachte, du fandst es scheiße.
Nee.
Oh, ich fand's super gut.
Also, vielleicht besser Take aller.
Ja, ich hab's so Bock.